Ashako's equipment system is very unique, and to get an equipment set, which are called technical engravings, you need to take a set of memory traces and a leader through the Echoing Nexus mode. And let's be honest, there are quite a bit of going on with the Echoing Nexus, and it can be a bit intimidating at the beginning. So today, I'm going to break down everything you need to know for early game Nexus runs and help you create some good technical engraving sets. I'm not going to dive too deep with this one, as there is a lot of system in there. Instead, we are going to be making this as easy to follow as possible so you can get your hand on a good engraving set that will triple or quadruple your damage without too much of a hassle. Now, a Nexus run starts with picking a leader, and when picking a leader, you should know a few things. First, every character have a different engraving initial stats, which is how much stats you will get at the beginning. This will increase with your character's ascension, so make sure you ascend the character to the current max rank before doing their Nexus runs. They will also have leader engraving skills, and just like the stats, level of these skills can be increased with the character ascension. This is actually quite important, but we will talk about this a bit later along with the memory traces. There is also potential exploration. You should not worry about this too much right now, as this is a very endgame progression system. But for now, just know once they have some early potential exploration unlocked, they will increase the overall stats of the team when they are the leader. Now let's get to the actually important part, the memory traces, which you will put on 5 from your own and 1 from someone else. A memory trees have mostly 3 main parts: its stats, the regular skill, and a main skill. As for still in the early game, I recommend to basically just ignore the regular skill and just focus on the main skills. Regular skills are a little bit RNG dependent at the time to actually get in your Nexus run, and since you won't be using your early game set permanently with your memory trees not even at max level, grinding for a specific sub-skill will be a waste. So with that being said, what should we be looking at? Well, first and foremost, the stats. Overall, if possible, I would go with triple attack and triple mastery. Attack is pretty self-explanatory. The more you have, the higher damage you deal. Now, mastery is a little bit different. Outside of skill that have mastery as a part of its scaling, the stats will also give your team an overall damage boost and also increase your healing and shielding. With that being said, if you are struggling with surviving, considering also selecting a defense memory trace, so you can get more defense out of your Nexus runs. Defense also work a little bit differently in Ashakos. In this game, each stage will have a death value, and based on that death value, the character will gain a certain amount of damage reduction based on the engraving defense. Some of the stage will give you a recommended amount of defense you should have, and if you're below that, survivability will potentially be a pretty big issue. Overall, I would highly recommend first focus on getting as much attack as possible, followed by getting a good amount of masteries, and then enough defense to survive. Do keep in mind that there will be a cap on how much of each stats you can get, so do not end up having too much of one stats at a time. One memory trace I must mention for stats is Beneath the Deception. You get this memory trace for free from clearing Phase Quest, and it's an extremely good starting memory trace in general, especially if you're using the summoning team. You can get dupes of this memory trees from the achievement, which increase the amount of attack you can get out of a given Echoing Nexus run. Okay, so those are the stat set of things, and there's one more thing you should be looking at when picking up your memory traces, and that is the main skill I mentioned previously. Each memory trees have multiple stages, and to get the main skill to max level, you have to upgrade the memory trees 5 times during a Nexus run. Now, after upgrading the memory traces, the main skill will be activated during your Nexus run, but to actually put them onto the engraving set and use them outside, you will also have to use skill point to purchase them at the end. You can get skill point throughout your run when you upgrade your memory traces. Now, there are a lot of different main skills that are very powerful. However, for the early game, and which is the topic of this video, you should mostly focus on one thing, that is Inspire. Inspire is a special stacking buff that you can obtain in any stages. Each stack of Inspire will increase your overall damage by 10%. You can stack up 20 Inspire at a time, at which point your damage will be tripled. This is on top of every other damage increasing effect you may have. Some memory traces can have skill that stack Inspire when certain conditions are met, and some characters also have Inspire skill as their leader engraving skill. Each of the skill at max level can provide up to 10 Inspire stacks, so every single engraving set must have 2 Inspire skills to max out that part of the potential. Now, there are a lot of Inspire skills, and it can come from both memory traces and also characters. To make this easier for you, I've made a list of all the Inspire skills that I considered good, and if you like that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. Okay, back to topic. The first 2 Inspire skills I want to talk about are almost conditionless and is universal. They're great to go for if you don't have a specific Inspire skill that's synergized with your team. One of them is Battle Coordination, which you can get out of the SR memory tree's Happy Hours. It's especially beginner friendly since you can get this memory trees from clearing the face quiz. This Inspire gives you 1 Inspire per 8 seconds, so you will get the full 10 stacks at 80 seconds into the combat. Unfortunately, you lose 4 stacks immediately when someone dies in your team, so you need to prevent anyone from dying if possible. The other universal Inspire skill is the Strength in Numbers from SSR memory tree's Shadow of the Alley. While this SSR memory trees, you could always just borrow it from someone else. Though that might be a little bit difficult right now, as most people have set their assist memory trees to Born from Ashes. So you will need to get lucky to find one. Another thing to keep in mind is that the moment your team has less than 7 alive members, all 10 stacks of Inspire from this skill will disappear, so you will need to be even more careful with this Inspire skill. Now, those 2 are the most universal skill and doesn't require any team setup and can be used by anything. But more specific Inspire skill that synergize with specific team will usually stack faster. Let's start with Technical Upgrade. You can get it from the current read-up memory trees Born from Ashes and also from Luke's Leader Engraving skill. This Inspire skill gives the team 2 Inspire when the character was Diamond Ship class to use a skill of Buff, Summon, or Recovery type, which can be stacked very quickly with the current Summon team. If you don't have need for specific backup characters, you can even have additional support character in your team to instantly stack this at the beginning of the combat. There is also the Barrier Water from Nightmare and Barrier Fire from Codename Diversity. These 2 Inspire skill also have an additional effect that further boosts the AoE damage or the damage taken by the team. Now lastly, I want to quickly go over the Elemental Resonance Inspire skills. These sets are actually very simple. They require you to have 2 characters of the specific element in the field, and will provide you with 1 Inspire every 6 seconds, so fully stacked at 1 minute. One big limitation to keep in mind when you use this is that you must always keep 2 of the character from that element on field. The moment you no longer have that, all the Inspire stack you got from the skill will be removed and you will have to stack for those again. Of course, there are still other Inspire skills such as Corrosive Inspire, but they are often more strict with the type of team you are going to be running them in order to be effective, so I'm not going to be covering them in here. If any of them are as useful for a specific team, such as Technical Upgrade, which is good for the current Summon team, I will cover them for the guide of that specific team or character. Hello, SteamedBunX here. For some reason I forgot to put this into the script, but here is what your auto settings should look like in the early game. Notice that the maximum difficulty is set to 12, as going deeper than that will only increase the difficulty without giving you more stats. I hope that with this information I covered today, you will be able to create some good technical engraving for early game without feeling confused and have easier time clearing content in general. And as always, this has been SteamedBunX. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.